Hello and welcome to Cyber Life. My name is Ken Underhill, your host. In today's episode, we have a very special guest joining us from across the world in Australia, Ashish Rajan. Ashish is well known for his podcast called the Cloud Security Podcast. And in today's episode, we're going to talk to him about cloud and cloud security. So, Ashish, can you tell us what is this magical cloud thing we keep hearing about?
I always joke about the fact that a cybersecurity believes cloud is someone else's computer, but in reality, it is someone else's computer. It just happens to be in a data center that you don't own. For people who don't know data centers, basically, that's where a lot of us started our IT career, where we used to have these massive buildings with each story or each floor would have a lot of servers. That's what used to be a data center. And now we don't have that ownership anymore. We basically given that responsibility to someone else. And that's kind of what cloud is these days. Basically, we're renting a room in a data center of AWS, Azure, Google, which are some of the popular examples of public cloud out there.
So, what are some of the common security issues that we have with the cloud?
I do want to define cloud security because a lot of people think that cloud security is just security in cloud. There's kind of like two layers to it. There's cloud security, which is for content or for services in the cloud, and then there's on the cloud. For everything in the cloud, your cloud service provider is responsible for it. And they call it out very simply. They say if you ever look up shared responsibility model, that's what this calls out. Now, cloud security for me is anything that you are storing in the cloud or you're using for compute in the cloud or you're hosting your product in the cloud. It's security around that. Now, I'm going to peel about one more layer off it so we can probably understand a bit more. Say, for example, someone who's a seasoned cybersecurity person, this is a combination of infrastructure security for all the compute and the infrastructure you host on cloud. And then there is the application security component for whatever you end up creating in cloud, the security of that. For me, cloud security is a holistic view of what security is for anything in the cloud.
So if I'm a smaller company out there, kind of your mom and pop, or just a smaller company in general, what can I do to stay safe? How do I protect my business?
I believe for smaller businesses, some of the defaults that are provided by cloud are probably the best foundational pieces anyone can go. Now, as part of the conversations that I've had with other peers in the industry, the best part about cloud, if you're a small business starting today, like think about companies like Netflix, Amazon, or even Zoom or Zoom for that matter, right? All these companies are hosted on cloud. Now, you're getting access to that same infrastructure as Amazon, as Uber, as name a big company that's on cloud. You're getting access to that exact same cloud. So you have the same security protection as an Uber or an Amazon. The challenge for you would be you need to have the right foundational pieces in place so you can scale. So you may be small today, but if you become the Facebook tomorrow, you need to be able to scale. So the way I would start is start with something very basic. Like if you're on Amazon, they have something called Amazon Web Well Architected Framework, or WAF as well, no, they don't call it WAF, but well architected framework is basically what you're looking for. And if you look at that, you can get some foundational pieces. And I'm going to use the example of AWS, but it's applicable for Azure as well as Google Cloud and other clouds as well. You can do the things of switching on auditing. So if something happens in your cloud, you at least know that, oh, someone's in my cloud environment that I should be aware of. Or things like billing as well. If there's a bill spike, which is a very common thing in cloud security, where someone's hijacked a server of yours and is basically doing Bitcoin mining, which usually would end up in spiking up your billing. And the moment you see that, that's an alert. So some of the basic foundational pieces. And one more thing that I would add is a lot of these cloud providers already have threat intelligence services as well that you can utilize. So, and by the way, it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg to start using it. You would, because if you have the right foundational pieces from an architecture perspective, you can scale to the size of a Facebook or an Amazon for the future by just starting off with the right building blocks today.
So Ashish, there's kind of this culture shift going on right now, where as organizations move to the cloud, there's kind of a change in culture. Can you just share a little bit about that? Like, what's the culture shift that you're seeing out there?
Again, a really great question because I feel a lot of people are going to hate me after they listen to this because it's a wave that has started to, you can start seeing ripples of it through industry where earlier, before cloud, the culture of security was if you wanted a rule change in a firewall, you reach out to your network first person, they would say, oh, this needs a security approval. I need to go to security. Then you go to security with this form filled out, and suddenly they are the gatekeepers to this firewall kingdom. In the cloud context, that power of changing firewall rules, and obviously this is a very simple example, the concept of changing firewall rule has been transferred back to the developers. As a developer, I can go and open up port 22, port 389, name the port, I can open it on my will without the need to interact with a security person. What this has done is security as a culture is not about, I need to reach out to this person. It's about the responsibility that a developer or someone who's managing your cloud environment, which is most likely not a security person, the ownership of security comes to them. So security culture in a world of cloud is a shared responsibility, and it's more driven by working with developers, working with product teams. It's not controlled by security. And I have some bad news from some people as well. This also means security has to learn how to code. Unfortunately, that's becoming, well, unfortunately for some, fortunately for some, for people like me, some of us have started in sysadmin space and then got into security. So the whole concept of programming is quite foreign. But cloud has kind of gone, no, no, automation is the way. You should go forward. Why are you slowing down, say, developers from developing code and going into production faster? Your business is asking for that as well. So the security culture changes, that the responsibility is kind of moved on to developers. Second, security culture changes. Now, security needs to know how to automate security products and security services in cloud so that they can be running at the same pace as the rest of the organization.
All right, so for those of us in the know, we obviously know that the cloud stuff is not going away anytime soon. It's important to build your skill set in cloud environments, regardless of whether that's AWS, Azure from Microsoft, Google Cloud, etc. How do people learn those cloud skills, though? Where can they go to learn those skills?
Depending on where you are, I'll probably take two categories. If you're starting off in tech in general and you want to start off in, say, cloud, I would definitely start off with just technology services or just general certificates. Go into AWS, go into Azure. They have a lot of documentation if you want to start free. If you want to go about doing some kind of an online course, you probably are looking at something which you would want to have some practical experience in. So, for example, I don't want to name any vendors out there because I feel like it would be disservice because there's a lot of online services that do a great job. I will let you find that out yourself. But what I would recommend is start with something really basic. I'm going to use an example: the AWS Solution Architect Associate. That's a very simple certificate that gives you an introduction what the AWS services are. Now, it doesn't tell you what IT is about. So you need to look for another certificate, which IT CompTIA Plus or Security Plus. There are other certificates. So I'll probably start over there and then move to the AWS space. So you at least have some basic knowledge of AWS or basic knowledge of IT before you move into it. If you're an experienced person who's done on-premise data centers for years, and now you're looking at that, oh, this is my opportunity. I'm gonna go be that cloud person. So definitely straight up jump into one of those certificates for AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud, the associate ones, great introductory ones. And once you've done this, and my hope is whatever course you pick, they would have a practical experience. I cannot stress enough that the need for logging in is so important these days. You can't just be someone who's is just reviewing a documentation and saying this is secure or this is not secure. You kind of have to go log into the console, see what service does, understand it, so you can make better decisions for your company. So that's one way to start.
So, any final thoughts or advice for the audience, Ashish?
I'll definitely start with something. There's a myth that I keep hearing about cloud, and I want to probably demystify that as well. People say cloud is not secure, which is funny because cloud has been there for almost 10 years. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I still hear it after 10 years that people still say cloud is not secure. And it kind of got me thinking, why or what's that thing that makes people think that it's not secure? And the conversation we just had just before about certifications and finding the right way and well architected review, like there are things which help you architect your solution the right way. And if you do that, I can guarantee you there is a reason why companies like Netflix and Amazon are on public cloud. It's not because they're not secure. It's because they probably have much more security than your average data center would have. These people are servicing ginormous customers like Amazon, Netflix, Uber, I mean, well, not Facebook or Dropbox anymore, but when they were there. So I want to demystify that, and I would ask you to look at the whole cloud space without that bias that, oh, this is going to be unsecure anyways. I would also ask you to go in with a mindset that you would have to get your hands dirty. You would have to log into a console and just see what kind of services you have. And this is simply because so that you can get the respect of your peers, so that they know that you've seen it before you go about ditching on cloud is not good. So that's a final thought on cloud security. Just do it the right way, and everyone has enough documentation. Every cloud service provider has enough documentation on how to do the right thing. Plus, there are other people out there as well. I'm going to include Ken in there as well. Ken talks about it. So to check out his conversations about this as well. But yeah, that's my final thought.
Well, thanks again for coming on the show today, Ashish. Really great time. Always a pleasure to see you and chat with you. And thanks again. I know it was kind of a crazy hour for you to film the show. Be sure to follow the Cyber Life over on our YouTube channel as well as on LinkedIn. And you can always connect with us over at cyberlife.tv. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode.